Keisuke!
Keisuke's tightly closed eyelids came open, and Akira felt his breath go still. He had been frantic, wondering if Keisuke's condition were taking a turn for the worse. Even while asleep, Keisuke had writhed and screamed as though experiencing an attack, and had remained unresponsive to all of Akira's attempts to wake him. Keisuke's eyes were unfocused at first, staring off into space, but slowly they shifted to Akira.
Akira.
Akira studied his friend's eyes cautiously. There was nothing to suggest hatred or rage.
俺
His hoarse voice, too, seemed empty of malice. Keisuke tried to shift his body, then realized that he was restrained. Akira, who had been about to untie him, hesitated for a moment. He looked into Keisuke's eyes one more time, just in case. Was a dark flame hiding there? But no, there was only a mild confusion. Akira finally undid the cloth binding his hands and feet. He looked awful, haggard cheeks, bloodless lips, sunken eyes, but he was wearing a tired smile.
アキラ、やつれてる。
Pepper-dry fingers brushed Akira's cheek, as though to feel his warmth.
お前。
Was it over? He didn't know for sure. It didn't feel real. What was he supposed to say?
ごめん。もう、大丈夫なのか？ああ。本当に？大丈夫。迷惑かけた。
Gradually, Akira felt reality take hold. His doubts faded, and in their place came certainty and relief. The next instant, something exploded inside of him.
お前!
Before he knew it, he had balled up his fist and punched Keisuke in the face with all his might. Keisuke stared up at him, holding his cheek. At first he just seemed stunned, but finally his eyes crinkled, and he gave a little smile. It was a smile he knew well, the smile of his dearest friend. Keisuke was back. The tension that had been supporting him vanished abruptly. He felt himself collapse.
Akira!
Keisuke called him before he hit the floor. He was exhausted. He hadn't slept a wink since the fight. The only thing that had kept him going was his desire to save Keisuke. Now he could barely lift a finger.
少し寝た方がいい。ほんと、すごい顔してる。
Concern had tightened Keisuke's brow, but Akira was having none of it.
お前に言われたくない。
He started to get up, but his body wouldn't listen.
寝てろよ。いい。アキラ。
He couldn't sleep. Not yet. Part of him still had trouble believing that Keisuke was back. What if this were a dream or an hallucination? What if he woke and found himself once again facing the man who wanted him dead? He shuddered at the thought.
大丈夫だよ。
Keisuke smiled a little, as if he had read Akira's mind. His expression was so soft. Seeing this, Akira felt his heart grow calm. Keisuke's hand covered his eyes. He couldn't keep them open. His little body tumbled earthward. The gentle darkness kept him from falling. Surrounded by its comforting warmth, Akira finally let go of consciousness. His mind resurfaced from the depths of sleep. He cracked his eyelids open and prodded his sluggish thoughts into motion. After a few seconds, a name rose to the front of his brain. Keisuke. He sprang up, driven by a surge of alarm, and quickly scanned the room. There, a rounded shape close beside him. It was Keisuke, hugging his knees. He looked up when he noticed Akira. He didn't seem to have been sleeping. His face was etched with exhaustion.
おはよう。
A familiar smile, a familiar voice. Reassured, Akira lay back down. A warm blanket had been laid atop him, though he still felt drained. His thoughts were clearer than before. He gazed up at the crumbling ceiling. Wires dangled from the cracks.
どのくらい寝てた ?2 時間ぐらいかな。
2 hours. It felt like much longer. Keisuke picked up a bottle from the floor beside him and held it out to Akira.
飲む
Nodding, Akira took it and drank a mouthful. The lukewarm water soothed his parched throat.
体は平気。
Keisuke smiled and shrugged his shoulders, a gesture that Akira supposed was meant to be reassuring. He suspected that it wasn't all okay. The exhaustion on Keisuke's face was bone deep.
腹減ってる
Keisuke was holding a wrapped solid. It was one Akira had traded for yesterday, together with a towel and blanket.
いや、今はいらない。
Akira shook his head as he sat up. His stomach was empty, but he didn't have an appetite, and he suspected he would vomit the moment he tried to eat anything. He glanced out at the window. The sun still hadn't risen, though the rain appeared to have stopped. Keisuke followed his gaze. An awkward silence fell. So many things had happened, and there was so much he wanted to say, but Akira didn't know where to start. He couldn't even bring himself to look Keisuke in the eye. Keisuke probably felt much the same. He stole a glance at Keisuke's face. From time to time, Keisuke's eyebrows twitched faintly, as if he were still in pain, but the black shadow was gone from his eyes. It was hard to believe. Only a day had passed since that battle in the rain, far less time than Akira had expected, withdrawal to less. Had he been the deciding factor? Had his blood purified Keisuke's? Either way, Keisuke was back to normal, and that was all that mattered.
Akira.
He looked over to see Keisuke still gazing out the window.
ありがとう。
Akira jerked his eyes to the ceiling. Being tangled like this made him extremely uncomfortable.
俺さ、
After taking a sip of water, Keisuke continued, still hugging his knees.
どんなことを言ってた？
覚えてないのか？
なんとなくしか。もう一人の自分がわめき散らしてたような感覚というか、印象はあるんだけど、ひどかったんだろうな。
Akira stayed silent. He didn't want to pretend like nothing had happened. Keisuke squeezed his eyes shut and clutched at his hair.
バカだ。
His tone said everything there was to say about his emotional state.
まず、ごめん。本当に。こんなことになって。どうしてこうなったのかは、多分、もう分かってると思うけど。
Akira nodded in response to his questioning look. He was clearly referring to Rain.
俺さ、あの時、ホテルでアキラに怒鳴られた時、すごい悔しかったんだ。今までも似たようなことを言われたけど、比べ物にならないくらい。アキラを守りたくて、アキラのためにと思ってやったことが全部裏目に出て、逆に苛立たせるだけで、俺、何やってるんだろうなと思ってたら、なんか、どうしようもなくなってきて。
Keisuke let out a heavy sigh. His eyes narrowed, as if he were staring far into the distance.
あの時、とうとう嫌われたと思った。こんなんじゃ、愛想つかされても当然だとも思った。どうして、俺はこうなんだろうってずっと考えた。どうすればアキラの役に立てるのか、そればっかり考えて。そしたら、
Smiling ruefully, he made a circle with his thumb and index finger.
喫茶店みたいなところあっただろ？都市までアキラに追いついたとこ。あそこに落ちてたんだ。ラインが。誰かが落としてったやつなんだろうな、多分。肉体的にも精神的にも強くなるって聞いてたから。それなら、アキラの役に立てるんじゃないかと思ったんだ。強くなれば、アキラを苛立たせずに済むって。
バカだな。
He spoke without thinking, and Keisuke's bitter smile deepened.
本当、バカだよな。でも、その時はもう、何もかもがどうでもよくなってて、とにかく必死だった。
Suddenly, Keisuke clutched his chest and let out a short groan.
大丈夫か？
Keisuke answered with a tiny nod and continued between labored breaths.
夢を見たんだ。
夢？
青い髪のやつが出てきた。現実と混同しそうになるくらいリアルだった。はっきり覚えてる。あいつ血まみれになって俺を睨んでた。その後たくさんの腕が伸びてきて俺の体を掴んで引きちぎろうとして叫んでも声は出なかった。でも俺の耳にはずっと聞こえてた。たくさんの声、泣き声や絶叫、痛みと恨みと悲しみがものすごい大きな塊になってぶつかってきて。
He released a shuddering breath.
ラインを使ってた時の記憶は残ってないのか？
なんとなく曖昧だし途切れ途切れだけど何をしたのか分かってる。
Innumerable acts of cruelty and murder. Perhaps at the time they had felt like someone else's actions, as though he were watching from far away. But the truth, of course, was that those were his crimes. Now that he was free of rain spell, the weight of those memories must be crushing to be bare.
あの夢の中の痛みはきっと俺が手にかけた人たちの痛みだ。この手で。
He looked down at his open palms. They were sweaty and quivering.
この手でたくさんの人を俺は殺したんだ。たくさんの命を奪った。まだ体が覚えてる。血の匂い、叫び声、感触。アキラに何かしたってことも。
Akira still, images from that nightmare flashed through his mind. Keisuke was different now. He knew that. And yet, the scars were too deep to forget.
くそ。
Perhaps sensing Akira's thoughts, Keisuke gritted his teeth and drove his fist into the floor.
謝って済むことじゃないって分かってる。けど、アキラ、ごめん。本当に、ごめん。
He wasn't angry at Keisuke. It wasn't something they could have avoided. But a knot in his throat, a knot he could name, kept him from replying.
ごめん。もし、そばにいるのが嫌なら、出て行くから。
おい。
Keisuke tried to get to his feet, but staggered. Akira darted forward to catch him.
いきなり動くな。まだ無理だ。
ごめん。
His eyes averted. Keisuke pushed himself away. Seeing this, Akira sighed.
お前はそうやって、いちいち思い込んで早まるのが悪い癖だ。確かにあのことに対して何も思わないって言ったら嘘になる。けど、お前を責めても仕方ない。
どう償えばいいんだろう。
Keisuke refused to look him in the eye.
アキラにも、俺がこの手にかけてしまった人たちも、どうやって償えば。このまま死んでしまいたいくらいだ。
Keisuke's shoulders trembled, racked with sobs. The guilt was destroying him. Akira could hardly bear to watch. This pain was Keisuke's alone. No one would ever be able to share it. It was a torment without end. And yet,
どうしようもないだろ
Akira's voice was cold. Keisuke looked up with fear in his eyes.
う。いくらお前が後悔しても、もう何も戻ってこない。死んだってお前が楽になるだけだ。償いどころか、逃げることになる。
And now, despair entered Keisuke's expression. Stop here, and it would be the same as the last time, as every time he had thrust Keisuke away. But Akira wasn't done talking. There was something more he wanted to say. Akira let out a slow, deep breath, then opened his mouth to continue.
生き続けろよ。お前が殺した奴らの命も全部背負って。また何度も夢でうなされるかもしれない。これから一生、罪の意識に苛まれるかもしれない。けど、それでも生きろよ。それが償いになる。それに。
He looked straight into Keisuke's eyes.
俺にも償いたいって言うなら、そうしろ。
アキラ。
ここでお前に死なれたら、俺が助けた意味もなくなるだろう。何のためにあんなに必死になったのか、わからなくなる。
A flicker of something, surprise, sadness, passed over Keisuke's face.
お前を連れて豊島を出る。そう決めてる。
嫌じゃないのか。俺は、人殺しで、アキラにも、ひどいことして。
嫌だったら、とっととお前を置いてどこかへ消えてるよ。
Keisuke turned away, his face and shoulders trembling. Akira could do nothing but watch and consider what he had just done. How hard will it be for Keisuke to live with the knowledge that he'd taken so many lives? There was no way Akira could know, and yet that was the path he had set for him. It was cruel, but he wanted Keisuke to live.
アキラ。
He couldn't see Keisuke's face, but his voice was thick and shaky.
ごめん。ありがとう。
Akira leaned toward him in silence, just close enough so that their shoulders were barely touching. And for a while, the only sounds were muffled, sobs amid the rain.
アキラ、変わったな。
Keisuke murmured once he finally recovered his calm.
お前もだろ。
そうかな。
多分。
多分ってなんだよ、それ。
His laughter echoed softly through the empty room. They were sitting back to back, munching on solids. The silence that interrupted their conversation at intervals still felt a little awkward.
アキラってさ、俺の他につるむやつ作らないのか？誰か他の人と歩いてるとことか見たことない。
もともと群れるのは好きじゃない。それに自分と馬が合うやつなんてそうそう見つかるわけでもない。一緒にいられるやつが一人いれば十分だろう。
一人って俺？
ああ。
Come to think, there was no one else who fit the bill. The sudden quiet prompted him to turn around. Keisuke was also looking over his shoulder. Their eyes met. He was a tad flush.
熱でもあるのか？
え？
顔が赤い。
Keisuke jerked like he caught some static electricity. His eyes went to the ceiling, and he rubbed the back of his hand hard against his cheek.
いや、ごめん、なんでもない。
Though bemused, Akira refrained from questioning him further. Another silence descended. Just as he finished eating his solid, he sensed Keisuke turning around again.
さっきのってさ、ああいう言い方って
ああいう言い方？
ほら、一緒にいるやつが一人いればってやつ。
はあ。
He had thought they were already finished with that topic.
なんだよ。
いや、なんというか、
なんだよ。
いや、やっぱりやめとく。
Akira gave him a menacing look.
ふ？
夫婦みたいだなとか思ったりして。
He shot Keisuke a dumbfounded stare. How on earth had he reached that conclusion?
お前大丈夫か？
大丈夫だよ。
Keisuke turned away. His ears and neck were bright red. He fidgeted incessantly, touching his hair, his face, his clothes. Something strange was in the air. Tension different from that of the battlefield. It made Akira restless. He found himself toying with a solid wrapper in his hand.
さ。
Once again, they both turned around. Once again, their eyes met. Keisuke's expression was deadly serious. He turned his whole body to face Akira, his mouth pressed into a tight, straight line. His stare was so intense, he was practically glaring.
なんだよ。He was even redder than before. Though Akira wouldn't have thought it possible, it looked like steam might start rising from his scalp. Was this some new symptom? 本調子じゃないなら休めよ。やっぱり熱あるんじゃないのか？
熱なんか。
He stared at Akira for a while longer, then finally leaned forward and opened his mouth. It seemed he had come to some decision.
俺、ずっと思ってたことがあるんだけど。俺、アキラが。
On the verge of saying it, he began to stammer. Akira was sick of this. He let out an annoyed sigh. Keisuke hung his head for a second, then fixed his eyes firmly on Akira once more.
俺、アキラが好きなんだ。